Governor Akpabio, allow me comment here. Did this whole issue about this pension, the way you have highlighted it, the way you have actually given a live example of what is happening presently in the state, go through the people? Now, I'm talking about representatives. I should have even asked the speaker that, if they represent the people, how well did they go back to their constituents and enlighten them on this particular bill?
No.
And in your state, have you actually used the state apparatus to see how you can inform and enlighten the people on this?
I will expect that almost all the laws I'm implementing as a governor went through due process. This law was passed in the year 2000. I wasn't here. So probably by the time the law was passed, it must have passed through public hearing. And it was further amended in the year 2006 and then signed into law by my predecessor in office. So I will expect that it must have gone through due process. The current situation, by the time the amendment was sent to the House of Assembly, it was all over the internet. It was all over. The only difference is that people misunderstood it and then thought that it was a new bill being sent to take care of Governor Akpabio. No. The salient aspects of the amendment are just three. Just those ones that I mentioned to you. And then the law also provided that a former governor and a former deputy will have certain complements of staff around him for life. For instance, he will have a chauffeur, he will have a cleaner, he will have a cook, he will have this, he will have that. Now imagine, and there was no money, there was no monetary term placed on it. So whenever you send the list of your staff as enshrined in the law, and then you tell us the amount you are paying, we have no option as a government than to comply. And so if you go and employ cooks that all have master's degrees maybe in akara making, or they have master's degrees in pounded yam, and then you are paying them $10,000 each, it means that if you have two cooks and then you bring them to us, we are spending, depending on the value of the dollar, we are spending over $6 million on those two cooks. We haven't paid the cleaner, we haven't paid the security man, we haven't paid the steward, we haven't paid your chauffeur. So what this law is saying is that no matter the retinue of staff you are going to have, the maximum that will be paid, which the payment of the salaries and emoluments will be in line with the existing laws of the land. For instance, 18,000 minimum wage will also apply to a cleaner. And so the law is saying for a deputy governor and the family, you cannot spend more than 2 million. I initially proposed 2 million naira, but the House of Assembly, in passing the bill into law, said 2.5 million. And then for the existing former governor and the family, you can't spend more than 5 million in paying your staff that you are entitled to.
Again, Your Excellency, is this money given to the governor or deputy,
no,
or paid to the staff?
They will be paid to the staff which are listed in the law.
Directly.
If you look at theirs, this money will be paid to the staff. And so you can't pay above what is expected. If somebody has a degree and is expected to be on level 10, and so he's supposed to have maybe 50,000 or 6,000, it's part of it that will be paid. That means that this 5 million will not be expended in totality, but that is a ceiling. So if you were to bring in people who are maybe very heavily qualified, ICT compliant and all that, and you say, oh, the 8 you are supposed to have as a secretary must be somebody who has worked with Bill Gates, and it comes up with a bill that should go to 7.5 million a month, that the law will not cover it.
Chamberlain, sorry, Excellent.
Yeah.
Can we just go back a little bit? You're doing a lot of development here, and you have, or I don't know if that's completed, a world-class hospital being built here.
It's ongoing, and we expect it will be completed this year.
These medical bills, as enormous as people say they are,
yeah.
If you're spending so much paying former governors and deputies this amount of money, or proposing to pay them this amount of money in a year, I want to be channeled towards equipping those hospitals so they can get their treatment.
You are getting it. They are getting it wrong. You are not paying them. You are saying that if, for instance, they have open heart surgery or they have liver transplant, and it costs more than 100 million naira, that the government cannot contribute more than 100 million.
Okay,
in a year, if the man is not sick and he goes on to take Panadol or hypertensive drugs, and the totality of it all is 5 million naira, it means from that 100 million, he will only spend 5 million that year. And so the state government will save 95 million. Then, if the hospital that we are building comes into operation this year, it's even far better for government. There will be no former deputy or former governor that will take up to 10 million naira of the so-called provision of 50 million or 100 million. It is not cash paid to them. I'll give you an example. When I finished the airport, we did not have flights coming here. The only one airline that agreed to come all of a sudden stopped the operation, and my people were stranded. I had to go to the House of Assembly. And in the wisdom of the House, they granted me approval to pay 500 million naira into escrow to encourage any airline that comes into Akwa Ibom said. And we said, if you don't carry up to 50% of the capacity of your plane, take money from that 500 million and then make up the balance to ensure 50% capacity. And then the first airline that took advantage of it was Ghana Airline. At the end of the day, at the end of the 6 month period, which was meant, we call it Business Development Fund. At the end of it, the government recovered almost 400 million. So in essence, anybody could have shouted and said, oh my God, they are giving 500 million to an airline. But no, that wasn't the case. And we wanted to develop that sector. We wanted to encourage planes to come into Akwa Ibom to see the huge potentials in terms of customer base. And at the end of the day, we took back our money. So in this case, if you make a provision of 50 million in a year for a deputy and spouse for medical, and the person is not sick, the money goes back to government. And if you have a hospital that is state-owned, like the specialist hospital that is coming up, they may not even be need to charge bill for a former deputy or a former governor. And that means not 1 naira will be expended. I think the confusion here is that people are thinking that this money is going to be given to Governor Akpabio every year, 100 million a year, he will go home with it. When Governor Akpabio is not ill, I don't pray to be ill, and I pray not to spend 1 naira out of that money. Okay, so that's one side of it. Okay, but if you don't make that provision at all, then you leave an open-ended situation, which is what I've seen in the last 7 years. So you're putting a ceiling on this? There is a ceiling, and that ceiling is very important to protect public funds. Otherwise, people can, I'm praying that we'll continue to have men of integrity, that we have had past governors have been people of high integrity. Otherwise, people can take advantage of it and submit all sorts of spurious bills, and at the end of the year, you end up spending 300, 400 million because it's an open-ended thing. You are covered free medical treatment, no matter the country, no matter where you go to. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be back, of course. There are so many other matters. Yes, as you expected, the questions are streaming in, but just give us a moment. We'll be back.